10 minutes ago, I was eagerly awaiting the moment to exchange rings. James Carter's phone rang, his face changed dramatically, and he walked out without looking back. He left me alone with a room full of guests and aggressive media. The only person who could make James act so out of character was Chloe Martin. Reporters with flashing cameras swarmed around me, making it almost impossible to breathe.
Miss Smith, is there a hidden reason why Mr. Carter abandoned you on your wedding day?
We heard that Mr. Carter had someone special before marrying you. Are you the third party who took over?
The spotlight above was so bright that I couldn't open my eyes. The constant clicking of shutters was almost deafening. If I could, I would also like to ask James Carter why he had to be so cruel. Not far away, on a large photo frame, our wedding picture had been splashed with red wine by someone. The dark red liquid trickled down our faces, looking like glaring blood. My smile froze on my face, while James Carter's stern expression exuded an unspoken authority. No one had ever taken a wedding photo with such a serious look. Since the picture wasn't good to begin with, it didn't matter if it was ruined. On what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, I became the laughingstock of the entire city. My father was so furious that he fainted and was taken to the hospital. James Carter's runaway wedding became a huge scandal. It was only at night that I dared to wear a hat and go to the hospital to see my father. The hospital corridor was unusually quiet. At the corner, I saw the person I least wanted to see. Chloe Martin. Her hand was wrapped in thick bandages, and she stood at the door looking at me with a pale face and a strange glint in her eyes. I turned to leave. I couldn't pretend to be magnanimous and face Chloe Martin at this moment.
Lila Smith. I need to talk to you.
I'm in a hurry. Let's talk next time.
She wouldn't let go, looking at me pitifully.
Lila, I didn't mean to ruin your wedding. I know I'm not worthy of James, but I can't bear to be without him.
Every word was sincere, but to me, it was piercing. Could I bear to be without James Carter? I had loved him for 15 years. Chloe suddenly lunged at me. I tried to dodge her, but before I could even touch her, she fell backward. I frowned, and when I turned back, I met James Carter's angry eyes.
Chloe!
He strode forward and helped Chloe up.
James, I
watched helplessly as he protected Chloe, my palms turning cold.
Lila, if you have any grievances, take them out on me. If you dare to hurt Chloe, I won't let you off.
He must have thought I came to the hospital to cause trouble for Chloe.
If you care so much about her, then keep an eye on her. Don't let her act like a madwoman, rushing out to bite people.
Lila, you are indeed as arrogant as I thought.
James Carter protected Chloe and left. At some point, tears blurred my vision. The tension in the hospital room was palpable. James Carter's eyes were burning with anger as he stood protectively in front of Chloe.
Lila, if you have any grievances, take them out on me. If you dare to hurt Chloe, I won't let you off.
He must have thought I came to the hospital to cause trouble for Chloe. I raised my head disdainfully, looking at them coldly.
If you care so much about her, then keep an eye on her. Don't let her act like a madwoman, rushing out to bite people.
Lila, you are indeed as arrogant as I thought.
James protected Chloe and left. At some point, tears blurred my vision. I tracked down Alex Johnson's whereabouts. The information showed that Chloe was being held by Alex in the suburbs. Without hesitation, I called James Carter and then drove there alone. The urge to clear my name in James Carter's eyes was too strong. I rushed into the abandoned warehouse, grabbed Chloe, and tried to run out. But just as we stood up, the door was violently kicked open. Alex Johnson, holding a knife, stormed in with a menacing look. Without a word, he grabbed Chloe by the neck and slammed her to the ground.
Let her go! What are you doing?
Miss, what are you doing? Wasn't it you who told me to bring Chloe here?
What nonsense are you talking about?
I had no dealings with Alex. I only knew about his departure from the Smith family through his father recently. How could I have asked him to kidnap Chloe?
Miss, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say that Chloe was ruining your relationship with Mr. Carter and asked me to bring her here? Why are you pretending to have amnesia now?
I backed away in fear, suddenly bumping into a solid chest. Turning around, I felt a thunderbolt strike me. James Carter was standing at the door, looking at me with such disgust and hatred. At that moment, I finally understood that this kidnapping was orchestrated by Chloe and Alex. But Chloe and Alex, two completely unrelated people, how could they team up to put on such a show? Before I could explain, James Carter pushed me away, and I fell heavily to the ground.
Lila Smith, let's get a divorce.
James Carter's efficiency was indeed swift. He soon brought the divorce papers and threw them in front of me, already signed with his name. My heart twisted in pain, and I tore the divorce papers into pieces.
I won't divorce you.
Lila Smith, you promised yourself. Now, you have to sign these divorce papers, whether you want to or not.
I didn't do it. I'm not as despicable as you think.
Really? Ha. I heard it with my own ears and saw it with my own eyes. Alex has already confessed to me that you instructed him to kidnap Chloe. What else do you have to say?
James Carter left mercilessly, dragging his luggage. He bought an apartment in the city center with Chloe. I thought I could hide and be the nominal Mrs. Carter. I thought James Carter would understand and love me one day, but fate didn't even give me that chance. That day, I fainted. Dr. Ethan Brown said there was something bad in my brain.
It's not a big deal, right? Surgery can fix it. I, Lila Smith, have nothing but money.
It's brain cancer, and the cancer cells have spread. You only have 6 months left.
The bad news came so quickly, giving me no time to buffer, and sentenced me firmly. Lila entered the hospital, her eyes cold and unyielding as she faced James and Chloe.
Lila, if you have any grievances, take them out on me. If you dare to hurt Chloe, I won't let you off.
He must have thought she came to cause trouble for Chloe.
If you care so much about her, then keep an eye on her. Don't let her act like a madwoman, rushing out to bite people.
Lila, you are indeed as arrogant as I thought.
James protected Chloe and left. At some point, tears blurred Lila's vision. Lila stood in the hospital corridor, glaring at James, who was shielding Chloe.
Lila, if you have any grievances, take them out on me. If you dare to hurt Chloe, I won't let you off.
He must have thought I came to the hospital to cause trouble for Chloe.
If you care so much about her, then keep an eye on her. Don't let her act like a madwoman, rushing out to bother others.
Lila, you are indeed as arrogant as I thought.
James protected Chloe and left. At some point, tears blurred my vision. The Carter family sent Lila a message, inviting her to dinner, saying she hadn't visited in a long time. When Lila arrived at the Carter residence, the sky was still light. From a distance, she saw James standing at the entrance. Everyone was delighted to see James and Lila return together, and they prepared a large table of dishes. Surprisingly, no one mentioned Chloe, and everyone tacitly avoided bringing up the previous quarrel. After dinner, William Carter and James went to the study, while Elizabeth Carter pulled Lila aside.
Lila, Chloe is expecting, and I can't let a Carter child be left out in the cold, can I?
Lila's mother-in-law already knew about Chloe's situation.
So, I want to discuss something with you.
Mom, go ahead.
I want her to have the baby, but don't worry, our family will never accept that woman.
What about the child?
You will acknowledge the child as your own, and it will have nothing to do with Chloe. You're so sensible, I'm sure you can raise this child well.
Lila's heart turned cold as she withdrew her now stiff hand from Elizabeth's grasp. She couldn't remember what else Elizabeth said after that. Whether it was due to her condition or the hurtful words, she didn't want to remember. Lila realized that the outcome was the same, whether in a humble family or a wealthy one, once a child was involved. Elizabeth's proposition had clearly been discussed with William Carter, and perhaps James had also agreed. This wasn't a discussion, it was a notification.
Mom, there's no need. I've already made up my mind. I will divorce James.
How can you be so unreasonable?
Lila had nothing more to say. She couldn't guarantee that Chloe wouldn't become the Carter family's daughter-in-law after giving birth. Later, Lila went to the hospital for treatment. Her days were dull, and she spent most of her time in a daze. In the bustling hospital lobby, she suddenly saw a familiar face in the distance. The woman in the beige coat was Chloe Martin, accompanied by Alex Johnson, the man who had once falsely accused her of misdeeds. It became clear to Lila that from the initial incident to the current situation, Alex was involved. She realized their target must be James.
The thought made her shudder. She quickly picked up her phone and dialed Chloe's number.
Even if I don't expose Chloe, I must make her end this and leave James.
The phone rang several times without an answer. Frustrated, Lila sent a few messages.
This is Lila. I need to talk to you about something important. If you don't respond, I'll expose everything I saw at the hospital today. Meet me at the usual place in an hour. If you don't come, I'll take this to Elizabeth Carter. Let's see if you still want to enter the Carter family. If you don't believe me, just try.
I ran out of the hospital and headed to the cafe. Sure enough, Chloe was already there, sitting with her hands on her hips, her face pale.
Chloe!
A surge of anger rushed to my head as I stormed forward, grabbing Chloe by the collar. Chloe protected her stomach, her face turning white with fear.
What do you want? I'm carrying James's child. If you dare touch me, he won't spare you.
Ha ha! You know very well whose child you're carrying. I'm warning you, go back right now, terminate the pregnancy, and leave him. Maybe then I'll let you off. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless.
Since I was already nearing the end, I decided to eliminate anyone who could hurt James Carter. Chloe trembled with fear, but stubbornly lifted her head to look at me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I won't leave James. I love him.
Her words made me even angrier. I grabbed her chin and questioned her.
You dare say you love him? We can go to the hospital to check whose child you're carrying. And about the kidnapping last time, Chloe, if it weren't for James, do you think I would have let you off so easily?
My words seemed to have an effect. Chloe shivered with fear.
What did I do wrong for you to treat me like this?
I found it laughable and let go of her, stepping back in disgust.
Chloe, don't pretend in front of me. I know exactly what kind of person you are. I'll give you 3 days. If you don't leave by then, I'll settle everything with you.
With that, I turned and left gracefully. Though I acted fierce like a tiger in front of Chloe, I felt dizzy as soon as I stepped out. I used all my strength to hail a cab back to the hospital. For the next few days, there was no news from Chloe. I made call after call, but they all went unanswered.
Chloe, do you really need to see the consequences to believe it?
I picked up my phone and saw a call from the Carter family mansion. My mind went blank for a moment, but I hesitated and answered the call.
Mom, what's the matter?
Lila, you've gone too far. Can't you tolerate a child from the Carter family? We've already made concessions, and you're still forcing Chloe to terminate the pregnancy.
Elizabeth Carter's tone was unfriendly, acting as if Chloe were her daughter-in-law.
I never knew you were so cruel-hearted.
Mom, is there some misunderstanding?
Misunderstanding? I heard it with my own ears. Didn't you tell Chloe to terminate the pregnancy and leave?
In an instant, I understood what had happened. Chloe must have recorded our conversation, edited it, and sent it to Elizabeth Carter, creating this drama. But I didn't even have a chance to explain before Elizabeth Carter hung up the phone angrily. I felt exhausted and didn't want to explain anymore. I made a call to arrange for some people to take Chloe away. The abandoned warehouse was filled with dust. Chloe Martin was tied up in the corner, looking terrified.
What do you want from me?
Lila found it laughable. Shouldn't Chloe know exactly what she wanted?
Chloe, you really don't understand human language, do you? Coughs a few times, gently running her hand across Chloe's delicate cheek. Do you think I wouldn't dare do anything to you?
I can't leave James. I love him.
Stop pretending. Pushes her face away. If you loved him, would you be with that man named Alex behind his back? Would you be carrying someone else's child? I'm giving you one last chance. Will you leave or not?
Chloe was so frightened that her hands and feet turned cold, and tears fell to the ground.
I'll leave. I'll leave. I promise you.
Chloe finally relented, and the weight on Lila's chest lifted.
As long as you leave, even if James is sad for a while, time will heal everything. He will eventually fall in love with a good woman, someone who will love him as I do.
After dealing with this major issue, Lila was about to leave when Chloe suddenly called out.
I feel unwell. Can I have some water?
Considering Chloe's condition, Lila couldn't refuse such a request, so she had someone bring a bottle of water. But after thanking her and taking a few sips, Chloe suddenly trembled and crouched down, holding onto the wall.
What's happening?
Chloe's white dress was stained with red. She was having a complication. Before Lila could think more, James suddenly appeared at the door.
Save me, James. Save our child.
James pushed Lila aside forcefully, picked up Chloe, and rushed out. It wasn't Ethan Brown's fault, and soon it wouldn't be mine either. He didn't wait for Chloe to be discharged and hurriedly went with me to get the divorce papers. The man I had loved for 15 years was finally saying goodbye. When they got their marriage certificate, he had the same cold demeanor, and only 3 months had passed since then. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I returned to the villa I shared with James Carter. Since we were divorced, I naturally had to move my things out. Packing my belongings myself was at least more dignified than having James throw them out. But I didn't expect James to be there when I returned. As I struggled to carry my suitcase downstairs, he didn't even glance at me. It was almost dark, and he hadn't turned on the lights, making it hard to see his expression. I imagined he was frowning, his hands clenched in disgust.
James, could you hold me one last time?
I had always valued my pride, but for a hug from him, I humbled myself to the ground. James sat on the sofa, enveloped in shadows, his gaze drifting to the window, unmoving. He seemed to be making a difficult decision, his fists clenched. Just as he was about to stand, his phone rang. He picked it up, and after seeing the screen, his cold demeanor returned.
Lila, you disgust me.
James decisively got into his car and left. I stood there, watching the car grow smaller until it finally disappeared. Dragging my suitcase, I left the villa and checked into the hospital. Before being diagnosed with cancer, I never knew how terrifying it could be. My hair fell out in clumps, and my body wasted away. I became afraid to look in the mirror and started to feel relieved that I had divorced James. If he saw me like this, I'd rather not be alive. When Chloe came looking for me, Ethan had just been called away for an important surgery. Seeing the crowd at the door, I suddenly realized everything was planned. They had deliberately sent Ethan away and gathered a crowd to intimidate me, clearly intending to harm me. I didn't even think of resisting and followed them out. Before leaving, I discreetly typed a message on my phone.
Chloe, help me.
I hid the phone under my pillow and obediently followed Chloe out. It was the same old warehouse, but our roles had reversed. Chloe grabbed my neck and slapped me.
This is for my lost child.
The slap knocked me to the ground, but Chloe wasn't satisfied and slapped me again.
This is for myself. Lila, did you ever think you'd end up in my hands when you treated me like that?
My cheeks burned, and tears almost fell. But I wouldn't cry in front of Chloe. Gasping for breath, I tried to crawl away, only to be pulled back by her.
Lila, do you know you look like a dog right now?
Chloe's laughter was sharp and piercing. She tightened her grip on my neck, her face twisted in a way that was completely different from her usual gentle demeanor.
If it weren't for you forcing me away from James, my child wouldn't have died.
My consciousness blurred, and her face seemed to double. Even so, I defiantly said,
That child shouldn't have been born. You only wanted to use him to gain Elizabeth Carter's sympathy. With a mother like you and a father like Alex Johnson, his life would have been a tragedy.
Shut up!
Chloe, enraged, tightened her grip on my neck.
You conspired with Alex to frame me, and now you want to use the child to marry into the Carter family. I'm telling you, it's impossible.
Chloe lost all reason and yanked my hair, slamming my head to the ground. Once a high and mighty lady, I was now being trampled by Chloe. The scene before me grew increasingly blurry, but I felt calm. Even if I died like this, it would be worth it. Leaving my phone as evidence and provoking Chloe, this time I would surely expose her true nature. I thought I was hallucinating when I saw someone rush in, looking just like James Carter.